have any direct evidence of any terrorist involvement yet. ISIL in a tweet claimed responsibility for it, and there is a very aggressive ISIL chapter in the Sinai, but we really don't know.
National Intelligence Director James Clapper on CNN earlier today weighing in on the mystery surrounding the crash of that Russian airliner in Egypt. All 224 people aboard were killed. The cause of the crash under investigation, but as you heard, speculation that ISIS may have been involved in this. Initially, Russian officials dismissed those claims, but now it's said it cannot be ruled out. So, what caused this airliner to crash in the Sinai? And did ISIS pull off a deadly successful attack? For more, let's welcome in Pulitzer Prize-winning Wall Street Journal columnist Bret Stephens. Bret is the author of the new book, America in Retreat, The New Isolationism and the Coming Global Disorder. What about it, Bret? ISIS says they're going to release details. Do you think they caused this crash?
It's speculative, JD, because the record of, as you know, the record of Russian airliners, the safety record is not a sterling one. On the other hand, the details of the crash, the fact that the plane seemed abruptly to just fall from the sky after reaching 30,000 feet, does suggest a very real possibility of sabotage, whether it was from a ground to a shoulder-fired missile, unlikely. Whether it was a missile that came from the ground, possible. The other alternative was a bomb on the plane, much like the Lockerbie bombing. So I think it's very foolish to rule out terrorism as a possible cause for this attack.
Bret, want to get to your book in just a second, but there's another big story overseas we need to talk about. In Turkey specifically, an election surprise, President Erdogan and his party regaining much of the support it lost in June. What about the renaissance of electoral popularity for Erdogan in Turkey?
Well, Erdogan is an aspiring autocrat. In some sense, he's a man in the mold of Vladimir Putin. He's also an Islamist. He won big for the very simple reason that Turks feel worried about their neighborhood. And when you're afraid of the chaos in Syria or the chaos in Iraq, when you're worried about ISIS carrying out terrorist attacks on your soil, remember just a few weeks ago, more than 100 people in Ankara were killed in a terror bombing. You're likely to vote for the strongman, and I think that's the way that Erdogan presented himself. So it's another illustration of how allowing this chaos to fester in Syria is having knock-on consequences in NATO member states like Turkey.
Part of your broader theme of your new book, America in Retreat. About a minute and a half remains. Give us the thesis of the book and how you point out the evidence.
Very simple. When the United States creates power vacuums around the world, either by retreating as we did from Iraq or Afghanistan, or by giving our enemies a sense that there's no way in which we're going to intervene, those power vacuums get filled, and they get filled by dangerous and willful and ambitious people, whether it's Vladimir Putin in Ukraine or ISIS in the Middle East or the Chinese in the South China Sea. The United States cannot afford not to be the world's policeman because we won't like the alternatives to that kind of world. Right now, our foreign policy problem, JD, is very simple. Our friends don't trust us, and our enemies don't fear us. And so the goal for the next president, whoever he or she may be, is going to have to reverse that very deadly equation. And that's what I am urging. That's the path I put forward in the book.
Bret Stephens, we thank you for your time tonight from New York. Again, the name of Bret's new book is America in Retreat, The New Isolationism and the Coming Global Disorder. Do you agree with what Bret had to say? We'd love to hear from you. Here's the way you can contact us. Go online to newsmaxtv.com/comments. Up next, Ted Cruz says if you've never voted in a Republican primary, then you should not moderate a GOP debate. Our political panel featuring Pete Seed and Michael Patrick Flanagan will discuss that and more when we come back.